All right, good morning everyone. It is Scott from Scott's Moto Adventures, and on this morning's adventure I'm going to breakfast. Hey look, no more blinky light. Yay, no more blinky light. So, going to breakfast, BMW, then I'm gonna meet up with Goofy Bastard, and then we're gonna go cannon hunting. But I do want to talk about something on today's trip, and that is scams. And when it comes to scams, what kind of scams hit the motorcycle community? Now, with today's influencer style world, boy oh boy do we get hit with scams. And the reason why I'm talking about this one is because we had the honey of the motorcycle vlogger community, and that was Flying Eyes. Jake the Snake actually put out a typical Jake the Snake F this, F that video, which he did for Ruroc a couple years ago, about a year or two ago. But very similar to that one, but it is no longer an F this, F that. You know, like he actually got paid from Ruroc. He did not get paid from Flying Eyes. And it's a very telling video. I'm not gonna lie, I was not a fan of Flying Eyes. There was something about them that just seemed off, and I'll tell you know, I'll get to that later. But you know, what are scams in the vlogger sphere? And you know, there are some companies that I think are aggressive, that I think are just a little too aggressive with their ads. Sometimes Cardo can be, Moto Camp Nerd. Oh man, you can't watch an American moto camping video without having Ben and his some of his people try to hawk stuff, and I like. Yeah, I'm not like. I think if he got rid of one person, I think I could watch his stuff. I think I could actually like go to him and buy stuff, but he has to get rid of that one person, and I know he ain't gonna do it. But I think his YouTube channel is informative. He got Dork on the Road to talk about pooping while camping. Very important, very important. There actually is toilet paper in my tank bag for a reason. You never know when you gotta go. So, like, I think he's just really aggressive. Cardo's really aggressive at times. Try to think who else. I think that's really it. Like, those are the only two. Some of the smart screen companies like AOC, I can't pronounce that. They can get aggressive. Carpuride is not too aggressive, and I like the product itself. Mine is not mounted today, not because of the Carpuride, but because of the mount. I gotta rebuild that mount that's on my. I gotta figure something out. But anyway, let's talk about scams and not the stuff that is just aggressive. So scams, what's a scam? Well, the scam could be for me and you, the viewer, and the scam could be for the creator. So I really got three examples. First off, this is an older one, and it's a two-parter. Skully. So first off, Skully was invented by, I'll put up the name, I was just reading about it.
Hello everyone, this is Editing Scott. We're talking about Marcus Weller. He was not a great guy. He was the COO of Skully Inc., which was the original version of Skully. He and his brother, as one article stated, used the company as their personal piggy bank. He did not divest with the company right away. He was part of the reason why it failed. So I just wanted to give an update. I'm sorry for not being very clear about the whole situation, but now that I'm a little bit more informed, it's better that you know what.
The helmet, which was a smart helmet, you know, it was 2010. Everybody wanted to be Iron Man, so they were like, okay, let's come up with a smart helmet, and so they did. And this is how I found out about it. I liked the Wheelnerds, and I will go on and on and on about that. Wheelnerds was some top tier comedy, top tier motorcycle podcasting. Now, the one guy, Chuck, he ended up being a super Indiegogo fan, like he bought a lot of crap on there and he got burned a lot of times too. So he bought something, and I think he tried to buy the Skully, but that's how it got up on the radar. And so they were talking about it for a while, and then the whole, hey, they got a bunch of money from Indiegogo, and then nothing came out. And it's like, okay, well, we paid this money, where's our helmet? The good old hookers and blow. Hookers and blow. So, yeah, that's what happened there, hookers and blow, basically. And, it happens. You get tech bros who come in and, do that kind of thing. Fuck them. But that's what happened. So, around 2016, it went under. And the assets were for sale. And when I mean assets, I mean trademark. I don't know if there were copyrights, intellectual property, stuff like that. And remember, this is at a time that, like, late 2000s, early 2010s, and maybe even the mid 2010s, IP was a big deal. This is the same time when you had patent trolls, when you had other stuff. So this other company bought it, and then they called themselves Skully Technologies. They were like, no. We think that Skully is synonymous with smart helmets. And, if they would have came out with something, yeah, they would have been. How, like, GoPro, that GoPro right there, GoPro is synonymous with action cameras, or Kleenexes with tissues, or Coke is with soda. And so they thought Skully was that. I think that was part one of the dumb move. They could have said, hey, we're this brand, formerly known as Skully. And they tried to do a Make It Right campaign. Anybody who bought the Skully, because they bought the list, I guess. And so they bought the list and, like, we're going to make this right. And then they didn't because it costs a lot of money. Now, on the influencer side, there's a little bit of an influencer. Cool. It's Duster. Very nice. But anyway, so the whole thing is with him, like, so there was a little bit of an influencer side. And I actually don't blame Chase on Two Wheels for this at all. I think he actually had a really great opportunity. So they came up to him and they're like, hey, we're from Atlanta, Georgia. When I say them, I mean Skully Technologies. And they gave him, like, a tour and all this other stuff. And I mean, he did a good job, like, being an influencer on that, like, and informing the public. But, like, 3 years after that video, he's like, oh yeah, by the way, everybody got fired and they went under again. And people were asking him, hey, where's my Skully thing? Because he's an influencer, and they were like, what are you doing? So that's what happened there. And yeah, so he ended up, he ended up telling everybody the truth. I think he was a little late to the game, and that's his prerogative to do that. But yeah, he was a little late, and so they went under a second time. This time, I think it was pandemic, or it was like the investment company that bought the assets was like, oh my God, we can't do this. So they kind of, like, gave up the ghost. So there was that. Oh, Ruroc. So Ruroc, it is a brand that still exists, a brand that still makes helmets. And it kind of comes into line with the garden snake. Now, this was definitely a pandemic brand. This was definitely they saw the influx of people riding motorcycles again. There was a little bit of a pandemic bump because people was getting government money. So they ended up really hitting the market hard, and like 2020, 2021, 2022, it was, hey, buy this. And I was like, holy shit, dudes. Like, holy crap. They were really pushing the influencer some people were like, no, man, this is going to tarnish my brand. And to those people, you get a little bit of props because you probably did something dirty. Anyway, so there was that. And then some people were like, yeah, I'll try it. And oh my God, it was so crappy. The ad reads were so shitty. Oh my God, they were like, and the thing is, they're probably not bad helmets. They're probably good for beginners, at least the fiberglass ones. But the high-end ones, like, I've heard like they're too loud and some other stuff. I do know someone who has one, and I want to ask him a bunch of questions because, like, I'm really interested. Like, is it a bad helmet? And he did not pay the $500 for it. He paid, I don't know, like, I don't care enough. But I do care enough because they did some shitty stuff to, not creators, to the consumer. Right? This is a company that did bad stuff for consumers. And I do know the name of the bad one, and that is the Atlas 2. So, Atlas 1 came out, everyone's like, oh my God, it's so amazing. It was okay. But you know, reality distortion effect. These guys think they're Steve Jobs, they're not. And, so you have that, and they're pitching it, and they're saying how great it is. Then the Atlas 2 comes out, and a lot of people are like, "Oh wow, this is, my favorite influencer, said this was a great helmet." And the videos for the Atlas 2 were really good. They actually were really good because the helmet that the influencers got was not the same as the ones that the consumer got, and that's where the issue lies. So the Atlas 2 comes out, and they're like, oh my God, this is so amazing. Look at these cheek pads. Well, the cheek pads were the problem. When you bought one from that company, from Ruroc, you didn't get the same cheek pads that the influencers got. Those might have been handmade. Those might have had like special parts on, or like Atlas 3.0 prototype parts or something. So you don't know what was on there. And, the influencers did their videos, and then the consumers started to do their videos. Like, hey, we didn't get this for free. This is what I got. And I think, and the influencers had nothing to do with this. It was all Ruroc. They're like, oh, shoot, they found out. Like, what did you expect was going to happen? In this day and age, you can't, like, hide stuff. And that's what they were doing. They were trying to hide stuff, and so you definitely got backlash from that, and that's kind of crappy. And then you had, and then some influencers, they just ran out their contracts. And I saw Gears and Gadgets. I liked what he had to say because I remember we were talking about it on one of his like live streams, and I said something along the lines of, well, they had a contract. And he goes, they could have got out of that contract. If they had a good lawyer or if they had a good agent, they could have walked away from that contract. And he goes, some of these guys kept selling. Now, where Gears and Gadgets was he was actually the guy who cut it in half. And he cut that thing in half to show you, like, hey, is it safe? Is it not safe? Go watch those videos. They're actually not that bad. So now to the main event and the honey of the motorcycle influencer community, and that is Flying Eyes. And Flying Eyes, holy crap. So my first experience with Flying Eyes was she's local to me, she's in state, Lolly, and I don't hate Lolly. I think her content's pretty good. Sometimes sometimes she makes questionable decisions, like telling people to wear shoes, or what's the other thing she did? Telling people that a Triumph 660 was a good beginner bike. Crotch rocking 660. I was like, yeah, that was kind of dumb. And then she's like making fun of people like buying 600s on Instagram, and I'm like, yeah, didn't you tell people to go buy this as a beginner bike? Anyway, So she ended up, this is my tunnel of trees, by the way. You know, for those who are watching, people that are in Michigan. But the whole thing is with her, like, my first experience was with her was Flying Eyes, and she's like, I was like, okay, she's selling that, she's going to med school, she's trying to be a doctor. I'm like, that's not a big deal. Like, and she wasn't too aggressive about it. Like, it would just be every once in a while. And then all of a sudden, Flying Eyes was starting to expand heavy. It was, let's see here, like, all of a sudden, Spite, I think Jess on Two Wheels actually was first. I was like, all right, well, she's actually, like, and for her, like, her ads weren't that bad. Her ad reads were fine. But then it started to get, Spite picked it up. Okay, all right, yeah, Spite sells a lot of stuff. And he goes and does that. Then a couple months go by, and Spite's talking about his VMAX. That's in pieces. And he's got, it's gonna cost me more money. Sorry, Discord crew. I need more money, so I'm gonna get Flying Eyes to foot the bill, and they actually did. And this is where, like, it starts to get a little weird. So they gave him money. So that happened, and I think that got the ball rolling on some people, like, saying, "Hey man, can I get a little something?" And this is where the Jake the Garden Snake thing happens. So Jake the Garden Snake's like, "Hey man," so they come to him and they're like, "Hey, we want to sign you up." And he's like, "All right, cool. I would love that, because I got a nut." He wants to take care of that nut. And I just watched South Park, by the way. That's why I'm saying this. So he's like, "Hey man, I got this Chinese bike I want to get. I've been really hyping them up, kinda, not really. Like, I got, so I bought it, and I want to fix it up and make it the Flying Eyes bike." And they're like, "Hey, that sounds like a great idea," or at least some guy there says that. And then he's like, "Okay, cool, let's do this." And then no contract. And then, they paid him for stuff, I think, in 2024, but not 2025. So it's like, "Hey guys, like, what's going on?" And then I actually I got to give Jake the Garden Snake credit. I liked his naming scheme. Ham and cheese and sandwich. I would have called him Earl of Sandwich, but hey, like, that still was pretty good. So Jake this Garden Snake's all like, "Yeah, Sorry, I had to keep it quiet there. I want to make sure I don't kill that guy. So Jake the Garden Snake's like, "Oh yeah, I was trying to get them, to do this. I bought this, and without, thinking they'd go through with it, because they went through with Spite." And then watch his video. He goes into depth about it, and he definitely has some opinions about the whole situation. He did get screwed a little, and hey, that's business sometimes. I mean, the ad read shouldn't cost him anything. It's like me doing this right now. It's not costing me anything to use these two cameras. Like, I've already bought it. It wasn't a big chunk of money. Like, it's not like he's using a red camera or anything like that. Yes, he is probably paying insurance on the bike, paying for gas. But in the grand scheme of things, oh wow, Sotheby's. Oh wow, it's a nice house. A really nice house. Yeah, I can't afford that. I didn't even know that house was there. So anyway, the whole thing is with him is he's like, "Oh man, this cost me money." Like, it didn't really cost you anything to say, "Hey, buy these glasses." I mean, your vocal cords aren't wearing out. Your tires wore out for 2 seconds. So actually, I wish I had some sunglasses this morning. I'm wearing safety glasses for work. But yeah, so he's kind of like that about, he's like, "Oh man, I didn't get paid." So, but this like, you think, okay, this is, we didn't know this was going to happen. And, well, I got some news for you people. We should have known this was coming a while ago, because Dork in the Road, he's got a nut too. And his nut, he wanted to go to Europe and go see, because, you know, he has an English degree. I have a theater degree, by the way, so I can talk about English degree people. So what happened was, Dork goes on his YouTube thing, and he says, hey, here's where I'm going to be this year. I was like, oh, that's cool. And, you know, I was like, okay, well, you know, you're not crossing the Mississippi. Not surprised. But then he says, well, I'm going to England. I was like, oh, that's cool. He's like, I'm going to go to the Globe, and I'll go to this event. I'm like, okay, good for you. Like, I'm glad you get to finally go to the Globe. That's, it's not, you know, they actually did recreate the Globe. I was like, I'm glad your European fans can actually, like, meet you in person. Then, about, like, 2 months later, he doesn't say anything in a video. He says it in a post saying, oh, I will not be going. And I was like, huh. He's like, yeah, the sponsors pulled the money. And I'm like, huh. Now, I do believe Flying Eyes is in financial straits right now because we are, you know, we're not doing, you know, the economy's kind of doing good, but kind of not good. Like, gas is cheap, but, you know, inflation's going up, and the job market, depending on who you talk to, is not doing well, but that was the same with the last administration, so... You know, you're kind of in a weird space where nobody wants to spend money, and I've been really hating that lately. And they had a guy who I think was promising the world, and once the bean counters saw this, they're like, let's get rid of this guy. So they did. So I think they left a lot of influencers a little upset. And I think some of these influencers got a little greedy too. I think some of them got a little greedy. I hate to say that. You know, once they saw Spike get something, they're like, "Hey man, I need some money too. Hey man, like, hey, you gave that to my bro. I need money too." Like that kind of thing. They definitely screwed some people over, and I don't know if Dork on the Road was not getting paid. He did not say that. I guess Jake pulled his people together, and he was like, hey guys, like, are you getting paid? And, you know, they're like, no, we're not getting paid, so we're not doing. Some people are like, no, we're done doing ads for them. Some people pulled affiliate links, some people did not. I'm sorry you guys got burned, I really am. But maybe just, I don't know if that's what an agent's job. If anybody knows what an agent does, let me know, because I'm actually really interested. I don't want an agent. I'd like to know how a social media influencer agent works, because like I've seen it not only on that kind of thing. Like I know that like Dork on the Road said he had one. I think Her Two Wheels has one. I know a bunch of them have one. And I think, you know, regular car reviews, guy who isn't quite motorcycle, he has one. He needs one because he has over 100,000 subscribers. It's his full-time job. I get it. Who else? You know, one of the ones I've mentioned before, Black Flags Matter, he had representation. Now, did he lose representation when he got called out for being for having plagiarism accusations? I think that's when that changed. I think they dropped him and nobody wanted to pick him back up. So, but yeah, that is pretty much the whole situation. I want to thank you guys for watching and sticking through. I hope I wasn't too mean to the creators. I know I can be sometimes, and you know, I don't mean to be mean, but I also don't want them to be like complete and utter scumbags. But I don't think they were too scummy today. Guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.